Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager, uh, here talking to you about another very important subject that I think you will find important as well. What to do when you're in a relationship where each partner is on different sexual channels. That's what this is about. I've had many couples in my practice where they're on different channels. Now, that can mean that one person has a higher libido than the other person. It can mean that. It can mean that they have different desires, different kinds of preferences. Maybe they both want sex, sexual activity, but they want things in a different way. It can mean that. So what do you do about this? So I just want to start by saying this. Difference is something that's been talked about a lot in the field, in my field, in many fields. The important, how do you deal with difference? How do you deal with diversity, right? Well, what we're talking about is two people that are different. They have different bodies, and they are going to obviously have different sexual interests. There's just no way you're going to find someone who has the exact same desires as you. That would kind of be boring, wouldn't it? So the first thing I wanted to discuss before I get into the 5 ways that you can help yourselves out is as a sex therapist, I'm always interested in when these differences happen. Did this couple always have found themselves on different sexual channels, or were they in the past on very similar sexual channels, and then something changed? And that's important to know. You know what happened at that point. That's going to give us some information. Sometimes they're on different sexual channels because of a phase of life change. Maybe uh, maybe as a new baby, that could change. And then there's continued demomentum of a sexual life. Is there such a word as demomentum? I don't know, but I made it up. But when it goes the other way, right? And so they don't have that bond because they've been in the habit of taking care of this other baby. At least maybe the mom is, but usually both parents. But oftentimes the mom is the one that's breastfeeding, and that changes their hormones. So okay, it could be a life change like that. It could be a lot of stress in other areas for one person or the other. And believe me, it's not always the man and the woman who has the lower sexual desire. If we're talking about differences in sexual desire and libido, there can be changes in the body. Sometimes I found people, they're on different sexual channels, and I trace it back to somebody gained a lot of weight and they're ashamed and they've been kind of avoiding and hiding. So I just want to say, as a therapist, I'm always there to assess to see what's going on, and let's see what we could do with the person, help them change their belief systems about themselves, help them change, like the person who gains a lot of weight, maybe they realize they're being too hard on themselves. Sometimes the other partner goes, I'd be fine with it. He or she's so hard on themselves, I'm okay with it. Sometimes they have to change their habits and maybe lose some weight to be more comfortable. But we always want to try to find what it is. But let's assume now that you're just different. It's not because of any particular thing that happened in the past, any life change or extra particular stress that's happened, but you're just different. I've had couples where one person is more into the BDSM world and the other person wants it just nice and sweet and gentle. I've had people where uh, somebody really wants oral sex, the other person doesn't want to go near there. Those kinds of things happen as well. It could be um, some people like just gentle sex. Sometimes people want a little more rougher sex, or it could be that one wants to incorporate some kind of fantasy, whatever it is, and the other really isn't on that same page. So what do you do there? So I would say the first thing that we need to do is, and again, there's two kinds, right? There's differences in libido, where one has higher libido and one has lower libido, and there's also when people have libido, but for different things. They have desire, but for different things. In the case where there's different libido, it might be helpful to just start by assigning yourself. I thought this was good. I saw this somewhere. This was not an original idea by me. Assign yourself a libido number. How On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being no libido, 10 being major, what would you give yourself in general, not just for your partner? And sometimes when a partner hears, oh, so you're a 3 and I'm an 8, they don't take it quite as personally. That it's like you're not trying to reject me. You really don't have the same libido. And that's the truth, is not everybody has the same libido. Can it be due to a problem? Possibly, and I'm here to help with that. But sometimes there's just a difference, and so we want to assign numbers that will help you not take it personally. So that's just one little thing. The second thing is we need to empathize. You know, a lot of sexual libido, even in the person that might be a 3 sometimes, it happens that way because there's a lack of emotional connection. That there has to be that emotional connection. It's not just about sex. It is about knowing each other, feeling close to each other. And in the realm of sexual difference, it's important to empathize. Like, what makes you a 3? What would make you a 4? Let me get to know you. Let me be interested in you. Oh, you're an 8. Wow, that must be tough. When I say no to you, that must be really hard to feel rejected like that. Those kinds of conversations can really help in these situations when you're on different libido channels. And the person who is the high libido could say, yeah, it must be hard to, you love me, you don't want to disappoint me, for you to have to always say no, that must be really difficult. So empathy is very important. The next thing I want to say about this different sexual channels is we need to broaden our definition of what successful sex is. That a lot of times people on different channels don't have a problem because they're able to broaden the definition of what good sex is, and they begin to incorporate each person's different desires into their life, into their sex life, into their intimacy life. They take turns oftentimes. They both accept and validate each other's differences. They feel like you accept me for who I am and for what I want. Each person stretches, at least to the point where they feel they still have their integrity, but they stretch. And they also have learned to ask for what they want and take chances with each other. And so what might be a definition of successful sex, it may have nothing to do, for example, with sexual intercourse. We do need to define that. That's a myth, that successful sex always involves sexual intercourse, an erect penis, orgasm. It's not necessarily true. Nothing wrong with that, but we do need to expand it to recognize what successful sexual experience means, and then incorporate each other's experience. And it's oftentimes viva la différence. So we're on different sexual channels. I'll stretch for you, you stretch for me. Related to that, number 4, is you want to ask what makes sex worth having for you. You want to have a conversation about it. You want to talk about it. Again, validating it. And again, it's paired up with number 3, because you have to, in order to do that, you have to expand what you might have seen as successful sexual intimacy. We need to be humble. We need to be open, and we need to be curious. We need to be curious what would make sex worthy for you, and encouraging, because this is a difficult conversation to have, encouraging our partner to take a chance on us, to assure them that no matter what they say, that you will not judge them, that you will be there for them, and that this is a safe place to share your own sexual fantasies, your own things that may be hard to share. I can't tell you how many couples I've seen where they've harbored sexual fantasy secrets for decades. And so we want to evolve beyond that taboo and evolve beyond letting that kind of fear hold us back. It interferes with sexual intimacy, but also, of course, emotional intimacy. And when a couple can share on that level, it feels so wonderful. And I've said this before, and people have heard my videos along the way. You might have heard me say that the biggest aphrodisiac in a long-term relationship is the ability to fully express myself, especially those parts of me that are not so easy to express. The 5th thing that I want to tell you in terms of when you're on different channels. You need to slow down together. You need to plan. Don't just let it be spontaneous. You need to plan. This is what I meant to say. You need to plan slow down time together. You don't have to plan what you do in that slow down time. You know that slow down time is going to be, you're going to be open to whatever comes up for you guys in that moment. Maybe you'll have a conversation about it, but you commit to the times, you do it consistently, if not every day, every couple of days, that you go, okay, we've got 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 40 minutes, even 10 minutes, if that's all you got. Some people, that's all they got. But we're going to slow down together, and that's our time to learn about what channels, sexual channels each other is on, and to make it happen. So that's what I wanted to say to you today. I think that we want to do all these five things, assigning yourself a sex number, empathizing, very important, expanding the definition of what successful sexual experience means, asking the person truly what would make having sex something that you'd look forward to. And then the last thing is planning, slowing down to time where you're intimate, conversationally and sexually. And that's what I had to say. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.